Welcome back to episode 40 of Oneself. My name is Stephen Maher. With me today, with me always, is Adam Bartleman. Adam, thanks so much for joining me today, my friend.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's good to be here as always.
Yeah, bro. Folks, if you don't know who we are, we realized this last episode. Episode 39 was allow us to reintroduce ourselves. If you're a new listener, we appreciate you being here. Just a little bit about who we are. Adam worked for 10 years in construction and emergency services, had an awakening of sorts. 10 years into his career, kind of left it all and was searching for truth in that. Me too, right? Like I followed the societal scripts. I tried to do good in school, went to college, got all the student loans. 5 years into it, I was like, what's the fucking point of this? There's more to life than the societal script, right? We both think there's more to life. And now the goal of us both is just elevating the consciousness of humanity. We call ourselves keen observers of life, and if you're noticing the patterns and behaviors of people around us, and a lot of them don't make sense, right? In terms of trying to better humanity, trying to raise the consciousness of humanity. So that's a little quick intro to us. If you want to learn more and hear more about our stories, check out episode 39 after episode 40. And we appreciate you guys for being here. My lovely partner, Haley, kind of raised this topic with me we before we started recording today. So shout out to Haley for just kind of bringing this topic to my mind. It's in regards to men, right, in their relationship with women. I experienced this when I was a young boy. I'm sure Adam has, had his, different story, but maybe similar experiences. And men are taught to largely hate women, femininity, woman-like characteristics. When you're a little boy, don't cry, don't feel your emotions, be tough, I was all those things, y'all. Were imbued into me as a child, cry, showing emotions, or only girls can do that. Or what are you, a little girl, as you're a boy? What those actions do to the behavior of men is I think we just end up resenting the feminine, right? Which is not a good thing, y'all. That's what creates angry men and violent men, is when they can't, when they're not allowed, or they don't feel safe enough to be themselves and to express themselves. And when it comes to relationships with men and women, it's like, how can you love something in someone else when you're taught to hate it in yourself? Right?
Yeah.
And like, how can you love your partner when you're taught to hate that those characteristics that maybe that partner has, right? I'm talking like, heterosexual relationships, y'all. Like, I know there's, relationships have so many different shapes and forms. But I'm a straight guy, Adam's a straight guy, right? So I'm just talking from my experience. We can only speak from our experience. I'm just talking about my experience, in those sorts of relationships. So that's all I can speak on. But maybe it resonates with you regardless of what your, relationship status or, sexual orientation looks like. So yeah, Adam, that's my opening spiel on this stuff, man. I know we've both seen a lot of experience, had a lot of experiences when it comes to men and just like their resentment towards themselves, their ability not to feel safe within themselves, whether it's crying or showing emotion or sadness
Mm.
or, quote unquote, not being tough. What do you think of this topic? What do you think of this idea? Have you seen those experiences in your past? Or, even current day, right? We
Yeah.
see it a lot of men. It's not necessarily relegated to the past. But yeah, brother, what do you think?
Yeah, man, I see it everywhere in like every layer every layer of society. Just, even going out in public, if you look closely enough, you can just see random people embodying that kind of energy. Or not embodying that energy, right? Like not like you said, trying to push away the feminine aspect, the feminine energy within ourselves and within others, which is of course a recipe for disaster because that's we all have all of that within us. So if we're denying half of our energy and we're denying the personhood in many cases, the validity of other people's experiences of half of the world's population, Like, how can that lead to anything but destruction? You know, it's just it's insane, and, the sort of rampant misogyny that exists within our culture, it's crazy, yeah, as always, recognizing that we're all carrying this, right? Not pointing a finger, but rather recognizing that, what is showing up in others is a reflection of ourselves as well, like, not othering anyone, recognizing that this is the work for all of us, you know, including Steven and I here talking about it. Because yeah, I mean, that's a very common experience. Everybody's got that. Is you know, from the male perspective, we've all grown up getting that programming, whether it was from our parents or from other kids in school. You know, that's one of the most insidious kind of ways that it creeps in is you know, just going to school and getting that programming from other kids. Like in many cases, as this one physician Gabor Mate mentions, like if parents aren't doing a good enough job raising the kids, then like the kids at school end up raising your kids, and this toxic kind of stuff just gets passed along. But if we're denying half of our nature, then like of course, you know, that's shadow, right? You know, you're denying a part of yourself and just pushing it into the shadows and pretending it's not there, and it's trying to come out in a healthy way. Well, and you're not allowing it to, then obviously it's going to find other ways of coming out in unhealthy ways, and this is where we get abuse of ourselves, abuse of each other, you know, violence in all its forms. So yeah, I mean, there are many anecdotal experiences and examples, but that's you know generally how I've seen it. Yeah, generally how I've seen it expressed is it's everywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, that's what I'd start with. But like, what I mean, like, do you have any examples to relate from your personal life or like you know your what you've seen?
Yeah, bro, like, growing up, I whether it was from family members or, yeah, coaches, bro, I don't know what the
Yeah,
coaches are on, but, like, my coaches were
yeah,
on something growing up, dude, like, they were just, yeah, just a toxic, sick, working their shit out through children,
yeah,
um, in unhealthy ways, so I don't know what my coaches were on, bro. I had some good coaches, but, like, a lot of them were just, like, yeah, just passing on bullshit to children.
yeah.
So went through a lot all that, right? Like that programming when I was a child and like the work I've done in the last couple years to unlearn and relearn, right? It's when I've come into balance with my feminine, with my emotions, when I've let myself feel my emotions, cry at movies, cry
Mm,
at stuff, just allow that stuff to feel and have its moment and then let it go and let it pass. I felt more masculine than I've ever felt, man.
yeah,
Like and it's kind of interesting where it's just like that's a crazy thing a revelation that I've had where the more in tune I am with my feminine, the more masculine I feel. And
yeah,
who would have thought? You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
the complete opposite message that I was given as a child and as a young man. And my definition of what masculine is has changed, right? It's so different from what I think the men that I was around when I was younger growing up in, like what their definition of was. It's so far removed
Mm,
from what that is, and
yeah.
yeah, like I like being strong and capable and tough to, so to speak, because I know life is hard. But it's like don't let that outshine or push away the softness of life as well. Like life is too hard as it is, y'all, to be fucking miserable all the time and to not feel all the depths of the human experience, to not allow yourself to just be in the human experience and all the emotions that comes with, the highs and the lows, right? And to feel all of it, right? And yeah, brother, I think that was just kind of like the biggest takeaway recently thinking about this
Mm,
topic was that I've never felt more masculine than I do when I've come into harmony with my feminine.
yeah. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you shared that because that's funny. That was a realization that I had as well, and that was that was something that I have shared that is something that I have shared with many men, and it actually started in my old job when, I made some changes in my personal life. I went from being, like, a miserable, grumpy, kinda bully person to being very happy, generally speaking, not all the time, but, like, much happier in a very short period of time, and that's where the kind of one-on-one work really started as I was, like, being asked questions by guys and, kinda, stepping aside and talking guys through some stuff, like, um, talking guys through divorces and challenges that they were going through, interpersonal conflicts, and this would come up, and I would talk about because I could see it so clearly. I could see it in myself, and I could see it in others, and, I would explain that, like, exactly almost exactly as you said it. I would say, like, "Hey, man, you understand that, like, embracing the feminine energy that exists within you is not gonna make you less of a man, it's gonna make you more of a man." And that was always kinda like a little quizzical look or maybe a light bulb moment, but as far as, like, what I've observed in my own experience, that is completely true. Like, we're taught that we're supposed to be, like, 100% masculine, and, like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, and I always like the sort of like the tree analogy, like, thinking that you're supposed to be, like, 100% masculine is like being this completely rigid, unbending tree. But then, like, when that hurricane storm comes through, it's like, that tree that's completely rigid is gonna snap and break. It's like the tree that's able to bend and sway with the wind is the one that's gonna survive and, make it through that kind of storm, and that to me is, like, such a beautifully simple and, um, you know, really poignant analogy, I guess, considering
Yeah, dude. No, I
the
love Adam's nature analogies, man. I love, they're so
so
they
nature.
they paint a picture, bro. No,
That's
I'm
funny.
not knocking it. I love
Yeah,
them. I love them, right?
but
They're great. They're great. Keep,
Yeah, I think I heard that one somewhere else. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not putting any ownership on anything, and nobody owns any of these statements. But
right.
there are some good ones floating around out there. But
Oh yeah.
but um, but I like that. I like that one because it's like it's again being a keen observer of life. Just look around and see that this shit is not working, and like you don't have to be
Mhm.
we don't have to be, like, profoundly intelligent to observe and just see that this stuff is not working, and that was what I was seeing, like, in my experiences through life, whether it was, working at the fire department or working in construction, whatever, it was like or playing sports growing up, it was like, just observe the guys who are walking through life that way, who are bulldozing their way through life, I should say, trying to do it in that way, of being that way. Like, do they seem happy? Are their personal lives, in order? Do they seem like they're living in an aligned way? Just observe, because that's all you got to do. It's like, don't take our word for it. Just go out there and observe, and draw your own conclusion and see. Like, I can pretty safely assume here, and we shouldn't make assumptions, but can pretty safely, assume in this case, you see those guys who are trying to live in that way, even if they might seem to have it all together on the surface, just look a little longer, look a little deeper, and see. You're gonna see the same thing, that, like, that doesn't work because it's just a clear imbalance of energy, right? Like, we're living in polarity here, so the best way to move through life in a more aligned way is to be somewhere in the middle, right? And this doesn't mean that you're gonna be less of a man in this, when applied to men here. It doesn't mean you're gonna be less of a man. It means you're gonna be more, because you're becoming a complete being, and you're gathering within you the energy, the power to be able to withstand those storms, to be able to bend and sway and still be standing at the end of it. Because uh yeah, it's just like a logical observation as far as I'm concerned. You see that it doesn't work that one way. Try something else. See who's adaptable and who can who can make it through. Another example that I just to add to yours was, like, you were talking about coaches, and this is something that I would recommend to, like, look out for, I suppose, is when the coach or whatever, whatever the situation is. But this was, in my experience, if the coach starts talking to the kids in a different way once it's just one gender. So it's like, say the whole gym class, the coach is speaking to the class, the boys and the girls in one way, but then after school when it's like boys rugby practice and the coach has like an all male audience, and then he starts speaking differently, treating the boys differently, saying some more misogynistic stuff. Like, be aware of that. Notice those patterns, whether that's at work when, is the man who's in the leadership position in the room, is he speaking the same way to a diverse crowd as he is when he's speaking to a more to a less diverse crowd? Like, because it's those types of situations in my experience where you can really see um what someone's expression is truly like their essential expression. Because um as I like to say, as Stephen and I have talked about, it's best to in my experience, it's best to live one's life in such a way that we're speaking behind closed doors the same way that we would be speaking out in public. So, meaning speaking to just the guys the same way as we would be speaking to women. The conversations that are being had by straight white men behind closed doors, those hopefully are conversations that would be the same as if they were being held in front of everybody. Right. Again, when it comes to women, like some of the stuff I used to hear um, in my experiences through life, like hearing a man say something and be like, "Man, would you say that in front of your wife, your mom, your grandma, and your sister?" Like, because if the answer is no, then you shouldn't be saying it to just the guys either, because clearly you know that's out of alignment.
Yeah, brother, compromising your integrity and character
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the locker room talk, like,
yeah. Exactly.
it's
Well said.
I've seen that too. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah,
And what's the again, what is usually the point of that? They wanna be seen as manly,
yeah.
right? While you're disparaging, you know, no man in this life would be here without a woman, right?
Exactly.
Despite, maybe if you had maybe your relationship with your mother isn't the best, it's like, you know, you've still been given the gift of life through a woman. Honor that, right? Honor that to the best of our ability. I think men are largely just in pain, brother, in a lot of pain because we don't allow the little boys to feel that, right? To feel that
Yep.
the entire spectrum of the human experience, right? We cut off like 30%
Mm.
of emotions, right? Maybe that, that number could, maybe 30%. I don't know. We don't have to get
Yeah.
into the numbers of it, but you know what
A
I'm
good
saying,
a
right?
good
We cut
amount.
off a good amount of human emotions. We say to young boys, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to feel that. And that's not to say that's not changing. Like we've said this before in the past, where it's like, millennial dads are spending more time than any other previous generation of kids, right? Or, of
Mm,
parents, right? Spending more time with their kids than any other previous. So it is changing slowly, right?
mm.
But I think there's still work to be done as well, especially when it comes to, the young boys. Just like the lasting effects that it has on your psyche is crazy because it's like be perceived as weak or a coward, like the end of the reputation of that little boy, right? Or if you cry or you're feeling your emotions or
Yeah.
you're just not subscribing to the script of what a man is supposed to be, and it's like all this, but that completely discounts the talent, skills, characteristics of what that person might have, man. Your example, right, brother? I don't want to, put you on the spot. But the two life paths, right, that we see, and your life's not over, brother. Like you could still, align this on your path, but and embracing your creativity,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
embracing your your creative side, right? And my brother too, bro. Like I saw this as well, where my brother had a creative side and and an artistic side, and he wrote great comics when we were kids. He was it was great comics. Like I would read his comics, and he was just writing like these little comic panels. Um
Mm.
um and but was did he I can't speak for him, but, like, did he internalize this as well, where it's like, I can't be an artist, I have to be doing something more masculine,
Yeah.
and he let that go, right? When I know it brought him joy and he was good at it,
Yeah.
so that's sad, and the people I admire, a lot was, like, someone who had the fortitude from a young age to kind of just, like, resist the societal script and do what they want
Mm.
regardless, like some, famous musicians in the past of mine where,
Yeah.
heroes of mine where it's like regardless of what anybody was saying or anyone was doing, they walk to the beat of their own drum.
Mm.
And that's just really cool, right? That's just really cool when someone has the ability to do that from a young age, right? Like that's just incredible. As I'm, again, 3 decades onto this planet and I'm, unlearning and relearning and, forming these conclusions. It's like I really admire the people that were able to do that since they were a child, right? And just kind of say like, I don't agree with any of this and I'm just going to do my thing. Like that's really beautiful as
Yeah.
well.
That's like the real courage and like how, even from that traditionally patriarchal toxic masculine perspective, it's like, isn't that the most ballsy thing? But
Yeah,
like,
that's
but,
courage,
m-
man. That's courage
but
to me.
yeah, but like, man, did it ever not express that way? Like, and I'm, just to use my own example, like, yeah, I remember a friend in elementary school who cried a lot, every time he got like the slightest bit hurt. And we were hard on him. I was hard on him. I remember like I talking to a friend like decades later who worked in a neighboring department and it was like, "Oh yeah, remember that guy?" And like we're talking about this guy like 20 years later and it's like, "Oh yeah, wasn't he a little punk kind of thing?" Like wasn't like and like this guy was relating this and this was like a really nice guy too. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember him. He was so weak." And it was like, man, we're so hard on each other. We're talking about elementary
A
school, and
child.
we're
Yeah.
talking about children, and we're talking about it like 20 as adult men. We're still like disgusted by it. And it was just like, man, that's just so crazy. Cause again, yeah, like I saw it in myself. Like I had friends that like who were coming into the fire department who I didn't think were like tough enough to cut it, and I'd be hard on them and it's just like not that long ago, and I realize now like some of them were actually doing a better job of it than I was because they were softer and they
Yeah.
were probably more adaptable than I was because of that. And I'm like, man, I'm glad, or I hope they didn't listen to me back then. Gave some bad advice. and
Yeah.
and, because I see it so much more clearly now where it's like, man, if yeah, again, like you're saying, embracing that artist side as I related before in, past episodes, I'm like, I think if I wasn't so afraid, I would never have gone into that job, like into those jobs. I would have like embraced my art, my artistry from a younger age because I really like to draw. And interestingly enough, like my dad was an artist, but somehow I got this like energy even from him that like that wasn't okay. Like it was like there was like a self-hating kind of energy there, right? Like this that I picked up on and not to put the blame on anyone else, but just like that was the choice that I made was like, oh yeah, this is like maybe not okay. Maybe I should do something else, maybe. And then, I landed on those different jobs. But yeah, yeah, I come to be of the opinion that like the people that do walk to the beat of their own drum, no matter what that is, are like totally my heroes. I'm like, that's what it really takes to like have the guts to see through the illusion, pull back that veil early on in life, and just like not engage in this like matrix bullshit. And like and I see it. I saw it more when I like quit drinking alcohol. The reactions from men were like, "What?" Like, because like that's like this supposed to be this masculine thing. Not to mention that it's like that it's like kills your testosterone and is toxic to your whole body. But
Yeah.
going like eating a vegan diet, which I've been doing for I don't know 13 to 14 years now, and it's like those are some experiences where I'm like I can see that this works better for me, and I'm getting some flack for it, but it's worth it. Um, yeah, because like man, it takes so much more. takes really takes guts to go against the grain in this world because it is such a conformist culture, and like, and there's just so many layers to like seeing through it within ourselves because I thought I was a pretty open and aware guy, 5, 8 years ago, but I was still embodying so much toxicity. I was still, yeah, basically the topic of this episode. I was still um, really focusing on that hyper masculine stuff. I was still really suppressing the feminine within myself and within the people around me, like basically expecting myself and my friends to like toughen up and get through these whatever situation it was by just just muscling, bulldozing through it. And yeah, it's an ongoing journey to keep uncovering those layers and seeing how that just doesn't work. Doesn't
Right.
work at all.
No, man. No. And again, life is hard, right? Like a lot of life, there's a lot of pain and suffering in life, and I think there's merit in time in trying to prepare the younger generations to be capable, right? And to be
Mhm,
aware of this and to have strength, right? To have strength. I agree with it. I've spoken mentors in the past. It's and there's a way to teach strength and toughness with care and with the
mhm,
gentleness, right? And with encouragement. It's like you don't have to just like abuse children for them to be tough.
yeah,
Like you can do so. My best teachers were when it comes to toughness, they were gentle. They're like, you can do it, it's gonna be hard. They're not like trying to lie to you. They're
mm,
honest with the amount of effort that it will take, but it's like they also make you feel capable and strong, right? And strong within your body, within your mind, where it's like it's gonna be hard, you can do it, just take it one step at a time, and I'm gonna be here, right, if you need me.
mhm, yeah,
And those are the memories I look upon where that was incredible, right? Like I got so much from those lessons. Those lessons are so vivid in my mind, and I was so much more strong and capable than I ever thought I was,
mm,
right? And I wasn't being abused to be strong. In addition to marching to the beat of your own drum, there's a way that we can teach strength and teach courage and all these things that we're talking about, not just in young boys, young girl children, right? Everyone. Um, because it doesn't have to come with, these harsh lessons. Like you can still teach these beautiful characteristics of humanity, acknowledging that life is hard and there's a lot of hard things that come along with it, with coming with being, in a human body. Um, but yeah, brother, I just want to make that point as well,
yeah,
when it comes to strength.
yeah. That's cool. I think it's like it's teaching people how to be adaptable and truly be resilient, which doesn't come through like that. Yeah, that sort of like archetypal, like angry father, like I'm gonna toughen you up because the world's tough, and I'm, do everything exactly as I say, but which is really just a projection of their own trauma and how things worked out for them. When you got to realize like you have to teach the true strength, which is like vulnerability, like the and know that it's okay to fail because we've got like that's how we learn. Again, this performance based self esteem um, that is so deeply embedded in like this toxic masculine mindset is like failure of any kind is unacceptable. So it's like nobody wants to be vulnerable enough to try and fail and build that resilience again, like that little tree, that little sapling, it grows strong by being blown on by the wind. That's how it builds its cellulose fibers in order to become strong. It needs to go through that stress, and that's okay. Like it's okay to go through these things. It's like the overbearing parents that are not allowing their kid to like get into any sort of risky situation. It's like, within reason. It's like that's not always healthy. Like I had a buddy who started in my old job, and I was trying to give him all the advice in the world and like how to navigate the culture and like the just the workplace. And I didn't realize I was stifling that person. You know, it's like, man, he has to come in here and go through his own journey of what it's like to be a new guy on this job and like and figure it out. He can't just like have this kind of bubble wrapped experience because like, you know, I've been here a bit longer and I'm his friend and but that's what I was doing. It was very narcissistic. I was trying to I thought I was helping this person, but really I was just projecting my own stuff of like the stuff that I didn't like what happened to me. And so I was trying to protect them, thought it was from this loving place. And really it was like narcissistic. And, you know, you got to let people go through their stuff. We have to be vulnerable enough ourselves in order to, you know, be an example to others to try that, you know,
Yeah,
risk being
and
vulnerable in
be
order
there
to.
for them if they need help too.
Yeah, yeah, it's kinda like, yeah, like I said, the overbearing parent. It's like that helicopter parent that actually ends up creating all sorts of mental health problems in a child when a parent is trying so hard to protect and, like, bubble wrap the world from, you know, from their kid bumping into a pointy corner kinda thing. It's like, that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to have this perfectly safe experience like this. We're in bodies. We are incarnated in these individuated forms in physicality, and it's inherently unsafe. And that's okay. At the same time, recognizing that it's completely safe, paradoxically, because we can't fail. Again, when we recognize when we uh, withdraw our full attention from this individuated form, this sort of illusion of separation, and kind of step back into the observer of a of our situation from a greater perspective, and understand like you can't fail because we've got infinite tries at this. We have always been and always will be. It really turns down the volume on the whole thing, and like just dismantles the illusion of fear. And we recognize like it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to um not be tough in one instance, you know, bringing it back to the sort of masculine you know, toxic masculinity conversation. It's like, how do you learn to be tough? You learn to be tough by having experiences where you weren't that tough and you feel what that was like. You know, it's like I'm strong because I've been weak. I'm courageous because I've been fearful. You know, these things we have to go through the full experience because that's the whole point of it here. Was we're not here to survive this one incarnation as like in as much comfort and hoarding as many resources as we possibly can. We're here to have the full experience, the totality of the experience of being a human being. And you know, so it's like, you know, again, bringing it back to like, if we're, you know, men out here, or anyone who's denying half of their experience by, you know, suppressing the feminine, you know, women as well, being taught to hate these certain energies within themselves, then we're missing the point. And understanding that it is everyone, and to just to highlight that a little bit, I guess, is like, you know, men are not only learning the despisal of the feminine energy, and the suppression of that from other men. They're like the programming has come through all of us. Like some of the most toxic masculine stuff I've ever learned was from women. Like it, you know, in the family, it's like they're carrying on that programming and doing it unconsciously. And I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in others. It's like it's a responsibility that we all hold, right? To be like holding the healthy masculine as well as a healthy feminine. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Fathers to daughters, right? Like it's not just, yeah, it's not just men to
exactly.
young
Yep.
boys. Yeah, it's all of us. We're all responsible for these warped, out of balance uh behaviors that we're pressing on to the next generations. And so no, I really appreciate that you made that point. We're all completely responsible for it going everywhere, right? Like
Yeah.
impressing it upon everyone, you know. And so no, I really appreciate that you made that point, man.
Yeah, if we're just always othering some, you know, if we're always in the experience of, in the expression of othering people, then we're not getting anywhere. It's like, well, it's their fault, you know, it's like this battle of the sexes nonsense. It's like, yes, okay, of course we're not bypassing the fact that we live in a patriarchy and men are generally physically larger and more powerful. You know, again, generally speaking, we're not, like, discrediting the idea that men hold most of the power in this world. That is absolute. That is observably true. But we're also at the same time recognizing that it is everyone's responsibility. It's like, yeah, men have a lot of work to do, but women have a lot of work to do too. Again, I've some toxic stuff was passed on to me by women in my family and or around me. I've observed it many times. One thing, just to throw in uh, a little anecdote. This is something I've observed throughout my life multiple times. Is like, um, the sort of gender roles and the double standards. It's like when a little girl is being kind of flirtatious with boys, it's like that's not okay. But then when a little boy is kind of like that, like talking toddlers here sometimes. I've seen parents be like, "Oh yeah, he's just a little ladies' man," and and then as they get older, celebrate like, "Oh yeah, my son, teenage or whatever, early 20s, like really gets around." And I've seen this like where women are kind of proud of that, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, so what does that mean? Potentially, that's a situation where this this guy is not treating women very well, or you know, um, commonly accompanying the promiscuous kind of behavior, and it isn't okay for in our society for women to be behaving that way, but it is okay for men to be behaving that way. And what women could be complaining about it in one breath, and then the next celebrating that expression in their son or family member or whatever. It's like that's just like this massive contradiction, and that I've seen multiple times in my life. And that's just one example where it's like, yeah, this isn't adding up. If we want to see change, we need to be really consistent. And it's another one example is like when if women are being objectifying, like if women are saying something objectifying, like it's happened to me where yeah, I've experienced something like that, and I had to respond to this person like, hey, if we want to make change in this world, then like objectification has to stop, every expression of it, and so like please, be the change that you want to see in the world, because if not, then we're just continuing that stuff. Um, yeah, just an important awareness to hold, in my opinion.
You spoke of like the oppression, right? Like the, patriarchy and all that stuff, right? And a lot of men tense up when they hear something like that, where it's like, oh, we got the
Mhm.
high suicide rates. It's like, all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's like I'm not saying that like, yeah, bro, like men suffer within the system that we built.
Yeah, yeah.
And so acknowledge that. Like it's like
Yeah.
but it's not like you're powerless. Like we have a part, or we have the ability to change the system as well, because
Yeah.
yes, we are suffering within the system. Adam shared a video with me earlier, and a quote that stuck out was like, we've used people up for generations and thrown them out, and that
Mhm.
includes men and women.
Yeah.
Men throwing men into fucking wars for however long we've been around, for all of human history. When old, rich, or elite men throw young, poor men into these fucking wars where they die or get mangled, or, whatever the case is. Yeah, bro. Like we're doing that to, like men are
Yeah.
doing that to other men,
Yeah.
and so I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want other men to suffer within the system that has been created by men. And so it's like, and what's the issue with a lot of those oppressors too, y'all? And I think it comes back to this whole entire topic where it's like a lot of these oppressors are denying their nature. When we
Yeah.
see the Epstein files, when we see the Republican convention crashing Grinder, which is
Mhm. Yeah.
the LGBT app, right, for hooking up. It's like Tinder or Bumble for, the queer community. It's
Mhm.
like they're not allowing themselves, or they're afraid to be the true expressions of themselves. If they have
Yeah.
that sexuality that is a little more nuanced, it's not just like straight, or it's not fully straight, and
Mhm.
they feel the shame, and so they express it in the shadows.
Yeah.
And we're doing that. You know what I mean? We're creating that. We're creating that system where, these men, they feel this internalized shame, and then they go and pass a bill that takes away the rights of other people,
Yeah.
or they go after immigrants, or they go after all this fear-based bullshit, trying to get people afraid. It's like the oppressors are the ones that are so out of balance with this shit,
Yeah.
and yeah, brother, yeah, I'm getting riled up, so I want your take on that as well, because that's something I've noticed.
Yeah, well, it's all good. It's just it's very simple. It's very, very, very simple. It's just shadow, right? Like you're not expressing an energy
Yeah.
and you're pushing it down and then it has to come up somewhere. It's like the arcade game whack-a-mole. You try and push it down, it's just popping up somewhere else. It's like it's so observably true. And
Bro,
when
you're
these
on
guys are
fire
out there
with the analogies today. I just wanna
they're yeah, they're not handling it. Um and it's like one thing I wanted to mention was like, I know we're kind of speaking sometimes in terms of like, yeah, this is a men thing or whatever, but like, really, I want to get away from like the divergence thinking, right? Because you mentioned like men will get their backs up when they hear a conversation like this, like, oh yeah, like men have it hard too, like men have the highest suicide rate and all that stuff. It's like, yes, we're again get like extricating ourselves from this like battle of the sexes thinking. It's not we're not like blaming men, we're not blaming women. Of course, it's easy and popular to blame men and it is important to take accountability, of course. I'm not saying it's not men's fault, but it's as I was saying before with like the toxic masculine stuff also gets passed on by women. It's like it's everyone's fault. Like the problems that women are experiencing are men's fault and vice versa. It's we're just like stop seeing ourselves as like two separate groups and understand that we're all one. Like we can just for simplicity's sake, for one little baby step, is just be like, yeah, we're all human beings. We're all in this together. You came on like for men that are getting their backs up about that, like you came onto this planet
oneself.
because yeah, we're one self. Thank you. We're well, you came onto this planet, sorry, through a woman. Like it doesn't make sense to be despising women. So when we're understanding that like, yes, men have a high suicide rate and all that stuff. It's like no one's being blamed, right? Like, understand we're so used to this way of thinking because of our programming and this performance based kind of self esteem, right? Like, what can I do for you? That's how I show my value. If we feel like we're not doing something right, we can feel like we're being blamed and then we get defensive and say, well, but yeah, men have it hard too, and it's like, yes, that is absolutely being acknowledged, but just staying in that camp of like, I'm a man and I'm having it hard and I'm gonna focus on this and not the entire picture is missing the point. Is the same thing as denying that feminine aspect within yourself because again, we're all one here. We're all in the same boat. Like if we keep going back and forth in this pendulum swing of just trying to blame each other and perceiving anything that is being discussed as anything that is out of alignment that's being discussed as being an attack on ourselves and getting defensive, then we just continue that pendulum swing. We just stay in this kind of mess. So it's like again, like not taking it personally. If we're talking about like some men's issues, just for the sake of simplicity of like breaking it up that way, reminding ourselves, reminding everyone that we're always talking about the the issue as a whole, right? Like if Steven and I, we can sit here and share our perspectives and we can share like the experiences that we can share best are our own because we have had them and we happen to be walking on this planet in this incarnation as men. So it's like that's what we're going to share for those anecdotes and our specific perspectives, but ultimately understanding that we're trying to see ourselves all as one, as oneself, because yeah, if we don't, then that that victim blaming, that taking things personally, it just keeps going, keeps that pendulum swinging, and we keep missing the landing in the center, which is the only place that we're going to find those solutions when we keep going to the either ends of the polarity. So um yeah, man, I think I always feel like that's an important way to look at things.
Agreed. Folks, if you like what you heard on episode 40 of Oneself, please do all the things that are free that support us, like, comment, share, engage with us, subscribe. We really appreciate all that. That really helps us out. And Adam, any closing thoughts for episode 40 of Oneself?
Just man, yeah, just always bringing it back to a greater idea, a more expansive definition of self. Again, like the title of the show, oneself, realizing that we're all one. If you find yourself getting in that like, tribal thinking or any sort of bipartisan kind of thinking, it's like zoom out. Remember, we're all one. That's the only way we come to the solutions that we need is looking from that perspective.
Thanks, Adam. Folks, we'll catch you next week. We hope you have a good one. In the meantime, see you then.
Peace.